Governor Polis signs into law what may be the toughest gun control regulations in state history.
Under that new law that takes effect next year, it's illegal to buy, sell, and make most semi-automatic firearms without background checks and training.
Colorado governor signs off on Senate Bill 25-003, which could make it the most restrictive in the country. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, your NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. If you like channel, like content, and what I do here, you can support me with the link. Everything's appreciated. Once again, my online store is open. Get some cool merch. Another way to support the channel and what I do here. And I have been getting notifications from people, email, phone calls, and other media letting me know that they're not getting their notifications despite the fact that they are subscribed. So I tell you, just keep an eye on that. Check your notifications. Make sure they're turned on. I suspect some things are going on, but let's not go conspiracy theory right now. But double check, make sure you're all set up, and you do get those notifications. Let's talk about this, and I've talked about this before. This is Colorado, who was the original bill that they were putting through would literally ban all semi-automatic firearms that take a detachable magazine and some specific gas-powered handguns. The bill has taken some modifications, and the bill that they eventually signed is still as restrictive. It is still unconstitutional, and it still hampers the right of the law-abiding to exercise their right. But the governor did sign off on it. And once again, saying the same gaslighting trash that you always hear. It'll make our community safer, on and on. But let me go ahead and give you some info so we can get up to speed.
Sean, Polis received a lot of pressure to veto this bill.
Colorado's congressional members, Republican congressional members, among those lobbying the governor, Michael, they say the new law is unconstitutional. Supporters say it's common sense and will make Colorado safer for everyone. Original version banned so-called assault weapons. Governor Polis negotiated several amendments, including an exemption for those who agree to an extensive vetting process.
We can make sure that people who choose to buy guns, first of all, are able to choose the gun they want, but also that they're properly trained.
But the new law limits who qualifies for training. Individuals would need to pass a background check and receive an eligibility card from their county sheriff, who could deny it if they believed the person was a danger. Those eligible for training would need to pass a 12-hour course certified by Colorado Parks and Wildlife, unless they have hunter's training. And then it would be 4 hours. Their names would go into a state database, allowing them to purchase a gun after passing another background check.
This is going to put firearm ownership out of reach for a lot of those people.
Huey Laugesen with the Colorado State Shooting Association says the expense associated with obtaining a permit, training, and background checks infringes on people's constitutional right to keep and bear arms. The Shooting Association plans to sue.
Polis might think he's scoring points with the anti-gun crowd, but as far as we're concerned, he's just handed us a rallying cry. This fight is far from over, and we're playing for keeps.
The new law also outlaws rapid-fire conversion devices like bump stocks that allow a semi-automatic to operate like an automatic weapon. It is focused on semi-automatics like AR-15 and AK-47 rifles that have detachable ammunition magazines, which allow a user to reload rapidly. Shotguns, common hunting rifles, and most handguns are exempt. And the law applies to new purchases only starting August of next year. Michael and Michaelia?
Sean, you mentioned the training. How much is that training expected to cost?
the governor says he wants to keep it under $200 and is looking into possibly providing some financial assistance to those who can't afford it and possibly exempting those career military or post-certified individuals.
So, Sean, can people get around the law by buying a gun out of state?
Yeah, well, no. The short answer is no. Federal law requires firearms dealers to abide by the regulations of the state where the buyer lives. So you go to Wyoming, they have to abide by Colorado's laws.
Heard that and you saw that. So now they've taken a constitutional right and put a price tag on it. You have to pass the 4 to 12-hour training course. You have to get approval from your local sheriff. And God help you if that person doesn't like you personally. Because now your rights are dependent on whether your local sheriff thinks that you're a decent person or not. That's scary in and of itself. Then you have a database of all people who are allowed to purchase these firearms. Now, the governor says this is not a ban. Because originally this was a ban. When this first got put together, it was a ban. Now we require you to jump through more governmental loopholes in order for you to exercise the right to own a specific item. And you, of course, right away, you sit there and say, wait a minute, the Constitution doesn't work like that. It never has, it never was intended to work that way, and it should not work that way. But Colorado's not the only state doing something like this. We have other states that have had restrictive implements in place when it came to gun ownership. So this is nothing new, but Colorado's going to experience it for the first time. This law does go into effect August 1st, 2026. Now, I want to talk about one person. His name's Tom Sullivan. He's one of the state reps out there. He has been a champion for gun control since the Aurora, Colorado shooting because his son was killed there.
We have been able to add to the safety of each and every Coloradan.
For Senator Tom Sullivan, the new law is a shining light in a long, dark journey that began when his son Alex was murdered in the Aurora Theater shooting.
My family made the decision that we would not be silent or indivisible. We would speak out and be present for all those who have been impacted by the public health crisis that is gun violence.
He's helped pass nearly 24 gun laws, although not as far as Sullivan wanted.
There is more to do, and I will always be at least that one who will stand up and be heard when it comes to taking action against the public health crisis that is gun violence.
And of course, he's the one that grandstands with the magazines, magazines over 10 rounds, claiming there's no use for anything like this. And I'm thinking to myself, so because your son was involved in an unfortunate incident, people who wouldn't do these kinds of things should suffer for it because your son was killed. Well, here's a question for you there, Tom. If your son had been shot by a 5-shot revolver and killed, would that be a better scenario for you? Because I don't understand why these people think that a specific ideal under a specific set of circumstances somehow makes the crime more heinous than if these other factors didn't exist. It makes no damn sense. I put it to you this way there, Tom. Name a victim of the New Orleans truck attack. You got 15 chances at it because 15 people lost their lives. What legislation would you recommend to protect them? You talk about protecting communities, making things safer. What laws would you advocate for to protect those people who got mowed down by one man in one truck? 15 dead, 57 injured. Oh, that's right. They weren't killed by a very specific weapon, so they don't count. That's why you're not hearing anything about that story since it transpired 4 months ago. That's the game. And he's playing right along with it. He's using his son's death as nothing more than emotional fodder to pass laws that have nothing to do with what happened that day in Aurora. Nothing. Because if these fools think that they're going to curb evil by telling law-abiding citizens what they can and cannot do or how they can or cannot exercise a right, is never going to curb crime, because it is not about that. It never has been and never will be. They will never pass a law that says if you commit a crime with an illegal firearm, we're giving you 20 years maximum. We're just going to give you 20. Mandatory. Nope, they won't do that. You murder somebody with a firearm, and it's illegal, and you did it out of spite and malice, we're giving you 40 years. Mandatory. Done. Nope. They would never recommend laws like that. They would instead make laws like this. And this, once again, is going to make a constitutional right based on your financial position. You got to go through courses. Once again, I believe that somebody, they were saying that it's going to be roughly around $200. You got a background check. You've got some database they're going to set up, which they're not telling you how they're paying for. Just like New York had their database. And then they had to take it apart because it didn't solve any crimes. Remember the shell casing database they put together? Didn't solve one crime. But Polis is a coward. And they always say, as I said before, he said this is not a ban. Okay, well, then what is it? You put a stranglehold on a constitutional right. It may not be a ban in the sense of you can't have this, but saying we're going to make it more expensive for you to have this, well, it might as well be a ban. I don't see the difference. It's going to put a financial strain on the average Coloradan, and it's not right. Now, pro-gun groups, you got to get together. You got to start grassroots pounding, man. You got 2026 coming up. Get rid of some of these people. Get rid of them. Now, some Democrats did come over when the bill was initially announced, but then they changed our whole position once the modifications started. So when we had this final bill before the governor, these Democrats who were against it came over and said, okay, we're for it. Okay, you're a coward. But they need to be out of there. You need to get the grassroots going right now. Get that lawsuit going right now. You got to find a judge who's going to put an injunction on this, because this does start August 1st, 2026. Put an injunction on it until it goes through the courts, which means they can't enforce it until then. And those are people who are using Aurora as nothing more than political fodder. Well, you're going to have to suck it up, because this is unconstitutional and it does not protect anyone's life, period. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.